Hello everyone, it's Natasha from Treasure Books. In this video, we are making these quick, little or big DIY sketchbooks. Actually, we're making 3 sizes, large, medium, and small. Literally anyone can do this. And I'll say that because my inspiration comes from this project that my daughter made a couple of years ago at school when she was only 8 years old. And I kept it, of course, because I think it's beautiful and also because I thought, well, that is a great idea. It only took a couple of years to get to it, but you can make these for your to-do lists or sketching or brain dumping. You can make them really special and gift them for the upcoming Christmas season. You can have a photo at the front or a Merry Christmas message, for example. They are so easy to make and you can smash out a lot of them all at once. Even package them up beautifully, add a little pencil or a pen and sell at craft fairs. I think that's a great idea. So without further ado, let's begin. Obviously, the first thing that you need to create this is paper, of course. You can go with just plain white paper, or you can do colorful paper, or you can do tea-dyed paper like I'm doing here. And I know it seems a little bit silly that I'm about to destroy an actual sketchbook. Well, I wouldn't call it destroying, but you know, I'm about to remove pages from an actual sketchbook to create a sketchbook. However, this, number one, it's quite large. Maybe I want a smaller sketchbook. You know, maybe I want this size. Maybe I want this size. Maybe I want to make 20 out of one. And number two, it's quite ugly. This is pretty. Are we all on the same page? So like I said, this is what I'm going to be using. And I like to use about 6 pages just to start with. Because I'm going to be cutting these in half, that's going to give me 12 pages. So I've got my 6 pages here, and this is the size that I'm making. You can have as many as you want with this type of a binding, which is so beautiful, and I'm going to teach you how to do it. You can make it really thick and chunky if you want, totally up to you. So number of pages is absolutely irrelevant. After we make this size, then we're going to make smaller, which is this one, and smaller again. I want to make even smaller like this. So we can play around with like packaging them up nicely and all that kind of stuff. First, I'm going to chop all of this off. Now I'm going to find the perfect middle and make a cut down that line. Excellent. Of course, you can take any stack of sheets and just bind them together. I'm thinking like pretty notepads and things like that. You might want to make a little flip book, I suppose. What would you call it? This thing that we're making anyway, with all different types of beautiful paper. It doesn't have to be, they don't even have to be the same size. Maybe we can do a project like that as well, like different sizes of paper. Okay, this is what I want to bind together. So at this point, you want to punch some holes. Here's the hole punching business I'm talking about. Now we want the holes somewhat evenly spaced because the final result looks better. So what I like to do is make myself a template. You don't have to do this. You can just go in and eyeball where you want to punch holes, but you want the holes to be on the exact same spot on each page. So having some sort of a template is always a good way to go. So what I've got here, just a little bit of a cereal box, and I cut it down to size. Height doesn't matter, but width is exactly the same as my pages over here. So when I put it on top of my pages, everything is perfectly aligned. Next thing I did, I just drew myself a line. Perhaps this is about just over 1 centimeter. It's an approximate little measure. It depends. Where do you want your holes, you know? I don't want them too close up the top. I think this is like a perfect distance from the top of the book. So approximately 1.5 centimeters, or in inches, it's just over half an inch. You really don't have to be precise about this. Draw yourself a line. I'll do one here, okay, just to demonstrate, even though this isn't perfectly straight. Draw yourself a line where you want the holes, okay. Now, I find that for these larger kind of sketchbooks, I like to have 6 holes. You can have more than 6, you can have however many you want. You can have just 4, even though I don't think it'll look nice. What I'm trying to say is that you can decide, but let's say you want to go for 6 holes and you want them evenly spaced. That means you want to divide this section into 7. Why 7, you might ask, when you only need 6 holes? Because you have 7 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't matter. Don't overthink it. Just think, if you want 4 holes, you're going to divide this by 5 because you need 5 spaces. All right, so I'm just going to go with centimeters today. It's that kind of day. So my template over here is 14 centimeters, or a little bit larger than 14. So I'm just going to move it and leave a little bit of space on this side and on this side. And I'm dividing 14 by 7 because I need 7 spaces, okay? 14 divided by 7 is 2. So I'm going to mark myself a little marking at 2 centimeters. 1, 2, all the way to the end. 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is where I'm going to punch my holes. Does that make sense? The reason why I chose centimeters is because 14 divided by 7 is easier for me to calculate than 5.5 divided by 7, you know, which is about this much of an inch. So 0.78, and then you can see where I have my ruler. That's 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, and just before 0.8 is my marking. All right, basically all we want is evenly spaced holes. At the end of the day, you can just go and eyeball this. And then, of course, once you have your markings, you are going to go in and use one of these little hole punching tools, and you're going to try and get it into the middle of that marking. It doesn't have to be precise, but, you know, try and be like in the middle of the line, and which I'm not, but it, like I said, doesn't have to be perfectly precise, but at least you want to give it a try if you can. Okay. Punch away, my lovely punchers. Here we go. 6 holes. Looks pretty evenly spaced. Excellent. I'm just going to run myself that this is like a test, let's say, because I don't want to use this because it has an uneven edge here. All right. Template is done. Now what you want to do is go back to your little thing over here. And if you have different, I think it'll be really fun to make like different colorful rainbow papers. You can have like pinks and the greens and the whatevers, you know, in your little stash. And at this point, you're going to go ahead and you're going to make them, arrange them the way that you want. All right, let's say I'm quite happy with this arrangement. By the way, I just spritzed with coffee and tea these papers, which is why I have a bit of this going on. It's not like a uniform color. Papers are arranged. And now, this is too many papers to punch the holes through. Well, my tool anyways, I'm going to punch through all of this. So I'm going to do a few at a time. And here's what I do. I grab a little bundle. I think that's about 5 pages in there. I put my template on top. So I'm kind of working with the bottom of the pad facing towards me because it's just easier to do it here rather than like up here. You can just now make sure everything is aligned and just hold it there and use your template to punch. So it helps if your template is a little bit thicker than your pages. I would go for cardstock for your template. It just makes it easier when you go to punch your holes. If things are moving around, which mine are not, but you know, you might want to secure it with something. Just of course make sure everything is nicely placed. Punch away, and punch away. And now I'm going to work through the rest, but now that I've punched this, I know this is my first page. I'm going to face it upside down. Grab a new section, punch away. Put it upside down, and I'll tell you why I'm making sure it's just a system that works for me. This was the first one that I punched. If I put it like this and I put the second one I punched on top, I'm losing my first page, which in this case doesn't matter because they're all kind of the same. But you might have an order. Okay, so I'm putting this upside down. The next section, I have to, if I put this on top, even though we were precise with our measurements, our holes may not align perfectly. I don't know if you can see that. Probably too much information over here and really unnecessary information, but you might want everything to be just so. All right, so develop a system. Next little batch ready to go. And place upside down. And last. And upside down it goes. Okay, how's this looking? Pretty good. So even with all of the alignments and trying to make everything perfect, there's still some mismatch with the holes because, you know, sometimes I might have this a little bit more to the left, and there's going to be some discrepancies, which is why it's important to try and be precise, because if you're not even trying, then discrepancies are going to be huge as well. Okay, this kind of going into so much detail, this isn't really very important for little booklets like this. But if you want to make a real chunky one, let's say you want to make a real chunky sketchbook, I really personally like the idea of that. It doesn't have to be I'm just calling it a sketchbook. It can be like a to-do list. I like the idea of that. Then, you know, you might come into some issues when everything is misaligned. All right, we're ready to move on. This is my first page. And now I am going to just ink the edges a little bit. Now, of course, I'm doing all the things that I want to do before I go into binding, which is next. I'm really feeling the urge to make that chunky book that I just mentioned. I think it will be a lot of fun. Okay, at this point, I'm feeling like I want to reinforce these holes. This is purely aesthetic purposes. So you can see I reinforced the holes here with some purple because I have purple in that flower. Here I have some pink, love that. Here I have some red. Oh, no, what am I talking about? No, here I have, I'm talking about the string, red string, but I have this tan color kind of hole reinforces. Again, it just looks pretty, but it's not, it doesn't actually reinforce anything because the pages are not moved around individually. Well, they are, but everything is held in as one. I hope that makes sense. So this isn't something that you have to do, but nevertheless, it's something that I want to do. And I'm going to go in with this yellow. Now, if you don't have pre-made hole reinforcers, I think they're called, you can make your own. If you have a circle punch, you just punch a circle and then use one of these to punch another circle in the middle of the circle. So I have to tell you, if you're still here, it means that you're interested in following through with this. So I just want to say, yesterday I was preparing the thing that I had wanted to film this week. And I realized it's not going to be ready. It just simply isn't going to be ready. And I had to kind of think of something else that I could do this week. And of course I have a drawer, you know, with the ideas and the projects that I want to make. And I pulled out the inspiration, which I've shown you already. And I made all of these booklets yesterday. I made these 2 yesterday afternoon, and then these 3 last night. So I just wanted to let you know, this is one of those things that you can do last minute little gift for someone. Okay, now that that's done, we can move on to the binding. But at this stage, before you do the binding, perhaps you want to think about what you want to do on the front, because you might decide that you, let's say, want to sew around your first page, which you can't do if you've already banded to the rest of the pages. So I'm just going to decide. I've already decided because I went with yellow and this one was on top. These are little cutouts from books, and look how gorgeous this looks. It's not cutouts from books. It's cutouts from a book. It was like a friendship book and just had these gorgeous things, and I got it secondhand. And then I have, you know, other things like this. Just, that's what I like to use, as you know. And then like little recipes. I'm planning to put these into pockets in journals and stuff like that. But for this project, I'm gonna go with this image. The possibilities are endless on how you want to decorate your cover. I just want to say it's probably not a great idea to have something very stiff on the front, because this is a notepad and we want to kind of be able to do this somewhat. We don't have to be able to fold it all the way, but if you have something completely stiff, like let's try this, that isn't even completely stiff, but it makes it a bit more difficult. I suppose that would still work. Anyway, that was just my thing. I wanted something with a little bit of pliability, I suppose. All right, I've decided I'm going to use this image, and of course I love to follow a formula that I've done before that I know that I like and it works. And I'm gonna go in with burlap underneath. Just cut myself a little section. Perfect. Here's my little burlap. I'm gonna trim it down to size when I'm done with sewing this on top, which is what I'm going to do next. You can really, like, this is just what I'm doing. You can do a photograph here, like I said before. You can do collaging, you can do a postcard, you can do a playing card. Here I have one. You can do, oh, I actually really like this idea. Isn't that cool? These are all from Kmart. Look at this. Doesn't that look awesome? Wow, I just love this idea. And for the smaller ones, you can have smaller playing cards. I love that idea. I wonder if I should go with this. No, I think I'm just gonna go with this so that all of my projects are nice and cohesive. But there's an idea. Okay, I personally like to have my front piece ready to go before I go into binding. So I'm gonna finish this and have it ready, and then we'll move into binding. First, I'm going to glue this on top of the burlap. And I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and sew around. You don't have to do that, but I like the stitches there, so off I go. Chop this front thread off, and I might leave this one on the back just so it doesn't start unraveling. And now I'm going to do this. This fraying is going to stop where the stitching starts, or the glue, if you're not stitching. Okay, perfect. And now I'm going to see what I'm working with. I'm just going to cut this a little bit wiggly because I don't like those straight lines. And let's have another little looky look. Okay, I'm liking how this is looking, so I'm done with my front piece, but you can go in and you can add a little bit of stenciling like I did here. I'm not sure how much I like that stenciling there, so I'm just gonna continue because I'm quite happy. This is my front piece ready to go, and I'm gonna add that last. So now we can do the binding. Put everything back together and choose the thread. So I'm thinking maybe I can find some yellow thread, or even I think twine looks pretty good. Or maybe I can go with this baker's twine. I think that would look also quite nice, very contrasting. You can do yarn or crochet thread or embroidery floss. I'm just checking what would look really nice. This yellow goes really well, but I kind of feel a little bit contrasty today, so I'm gonna go with this one. Now, in terms of the length that you need, can't really tell you exactly how much you need because it depends how many holes you have and how far a distance from the top they are. But I'm just gonna randomly go. I have 6 holes, so I'm gonna go 6 times this way. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's probably gonna be too much, but better be safe than sorry, I suppose. All right, thread a needle. I'm gonna get a chunky needle for this, why not? And if you can't thread your thread through the needle, which I could just now, but sometimes I can't, then grab a bit of wire, pop your thread through, plop it through the eye of the needle and thread your needle. All right. Now to start binding, this is what I like to do. Gather your pages nicely together and hold them with something. Not really that important, but makes life a little bit easier. Start threading through the back hole on the back, just like this, okay? And then secure this thread here. This is just temporary, with a little bit of masking tape. And I made sure this masking tape isn't that sticky that it's going to destroy my paper over here when I peel it off. So I kind of have a bit of stuff on it, and I was kind of reusing this same little piece on all of my projects. All right, secured. Now, I'm going to talk you through the binding process step by step. I worked this out myself last night. It took a few goes. There's many different ways that you can do this. It seems quite easy, but I just want to point something out. This is going to come in handy when you actually start binding your little books. I want you to notice how I have 2 strands on each of these holes up the top, and I have 1 strand going across on the front, and then at the back I also have 1 strand going across. All right, keep that in mind, and I'll tell you why as we go. Okay, so we're here now. We're going to go over the top and back through the hole from the back. So that's our first strand on this hole. Remember, we're going to have 2. And the second one will happen when we're coming back. Okay, we're at the front. Now we're going to go in through the next hole and back over the top. And I'm kind of holding everything in place. Like I'm holding the thread kind of tight as I'm going. All right, back through the hole. Now we're at the back. All right, so we're going to go in through the back hole. Notice how here we don't have a thread in between these 2. That thread is going to come when we're coming back. Bear with me, okay? We're going to do this twice in this tutorial, so don't stress too much. All right, I forgot to say, we're here. Now we're going to go over the top, in through the back, and across to the next hole. Now we're at the back, over the top, in through the hole, holding everything tight. Now we're at the back, go in across at the back, over the top, back in through the same hole, and across. For some reason, I'm working from right to left, but you can start here and go that way. Totally up to you. Same kind of thing. We're at the back. We're going to go over the top and in through the hole. So this is what we have so far. Each hole has 1 strand on top of it. And then there's missing strands here. What we want is 2 strands on top of each hole. And we want all of these spaces filled. So now we're going to go back. But we're here at the back, okay? We're going to go over here. So we're hugging the sides. Go in through the hole. And you can maneuver your thread where you want it. And now we're adding 2nd thread to this hole. So we go over the top through the hole. Perfect. Now we are filling the blank spaces at the back. So we go through the next hole, adding that 2nd thread, going over the top and back through the same hole. Excellent. Filling this gap, going through the hole, adding that 2nd thread on top and going through that same hole again. Now we're filling this gap. We're going to go through that hole. Where do we go now? We're adding the 2nd thread on top of the hole. See how I'm holding everything tight? Go back in through the same hole, filling this gap over here, hold the thread in place, go through the hole, add the 2nd thread, go over the top, through the same hole, filling this gap, go through the back hole, add the 2nd thread, go back inside and hug the side. And now we're over here. Okay, we're gonna hug that side. I'll come closer. I'm gonna go underneath over here, like so. Remove this, remove the needle, and secure these two together. So we're just simply going to tie a knot. You might want to have the knot in order to turn it into a bow, for example. This isn't a very good bow, but let's say you want to have a bow at the front. That just means instead of going from the back, you're gonna go from the front and your strands will end up at the front. Okay, but we're not doing that. I'm just gonna tie a double knot and chop. Might be a good idea to add a dab of glue here. I'm not really worried about that. I just make sure I have that double knot nice and tight. And here is the binding. Isn't that cool? So I'll just show you the one that my daughter did at school. If you just want to make it nice and simple, I was trying to work out where does she start and how did it kind of, she has two strands here and one on all of them. I kind of didn't really like that, and I was trying to work out my own way, and this is what I came up with. I'm sure that I didn't invent this, but you know, anyway, it's totally up to you. I'm just showing you this if you want to make it nice and simple. And yeah, this is how it looks at the back. She started on the second last hole and then somehow did the rest. I'm not sure. So we will do the binding again when we make a smaller booklet, and we'll have less holes. You can do more holes. You're just repeating the same steps basically. Now to finish this one off, the very last thing that I need to do is glue this on, and then it's done. And you see, I mean, this took a lot longer than it actually takes when you're actually making it, but that's when you know how to make it. Then you can just go and you can just do. But of course, stitching it step by step, it's going to take a little bit longer, which is to be expected. But seriously, how easy was that? You can make a whole bunch of Christmas gifts. Maybe we'll play around with packaging in this video as well. Who knows? But I can officially call this one done. And just to show you, I've got this one with the black stenciling, then I have the pink, and I have this one with the twine binding. How fabulous do they look? Professional and handmade at the same time. I'm in love with this project. Look at this. I'd love to make a big one like this. Make a chunky one. All right, now I want to do the little one. And now, of course, we are reiterating everything that we've learned. I'm gonna pick 6 pages again, because why not? Let's stay cohesive. One of my children tried to draw my husband, I think that is, with no nose. Interesting. Repeating the same process. I like to chop these off before I cut the sides, because if I stack them up, I find, because there's like all these sticky up bits, and I try to stack them up, they don't want to stack up nicely. So I just go in and remove this, and then I can stack them up perfectly, and then chop this off, find the middle, and cut them all in half. Now, because we're making a smaller one, I'm gonna find the middle here again, and again cut in half. This is going to be my next booklet, but I also want to have an even smaller booklet. So I'm going to cut this one in half. I might make 2 small booklets. Then I'm going to cut this in half again. There's going to be a tiny little booklet. This is going to be small booklet number 1, and repeat on this one. And small booklet number 2. So we're going to be making these 3 booklets. We can speed through all of this because I've done all the talking already. But first thing we need to do is choose the very first page. I'll go with this one. Next thing you need is a template. I already have a template because I made this size last night. And I decided to do 4 holes on the little ones. So I needed to, piece of cardstock exactly the same width as my project. Drew myself a line so I know where to punch the holes. I wanted 4 holes, and that means that I divided this total width in 5, because I need 5 spaces in between the holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, listen, we're going to do another template when I'm making these little ones, but I hope that's pretty straightforward. Okay, now I'm going to use this template and working upside down, grab a few pieces. This template is actually a little bit smaller than my pieces over here. Doesn't matter, I'm just gonna center it, hold it in place, and you will also see that if the holes don't align perfectly, it really, doesn't really matter. First batch done, upside down it goes. Second batch done, upside down it goes. I probably did say that it's best to use cardstock for your template, simply because when you have something thicker, you can just kind of get in there. I hope that makes sense. Like when this goes into the hole, it tells you it's in the hole, you can feel. Whereas if you have a thin piece of paper, you have to really make sure that you're not punching next to where you're supposed to. That's done, goes on top, upside down, and now let's see how good the holes are aligning. Not too bad. This is my first page. Ink the edges. Excellent. Now I'm going to decide my front piece, and I've been using this fairies book that I've had since my childhood, and I don't know, I feel a little bit bad kind of hacking into it because I have birthdays there from my friends from my childhood, but then again, like most of the book is blank, and I simply decided that I'm going to use the pretty images, and that's just what I'm gonna do. I made that decision. Now, if you're tempted to say that I should maybe scan the images, just know that that's breaking the copyright laws, so I just used the original, and that's that. All right, cut this out. In general, my whole life, I've been way too attached to things and keeping all the memories and all the things. And if I continue to keep this book, let me just say I have plenty of other things that I'm keeping from my childhood. If I continue to keep this book, one day, hopefully later rather than sooner, it's just gonna go into my kids' possession, and they're gonna have to think what to do with this. They're not gonna know who the people are in the book, and it's just gonna probably be thrown out. So while I'm here on planet Earth, I am going to use it. I'm not gonna be precious. Okay, that's gonna be my image. Now I need to do the hole reinforcements. None of these go well, but I have this one. They're just like white hole reinforcers, and I think you can get them from like office supply stores, and I like to ink them up. I might as well ink all of them up now that I'm here. See how cool. And I like to apply a little bit of glue just in case, because these sticky things, they don't stay stuck forever, so I just like to be on the safe side. Holes have been reinforced, and that's ready to go. And now I'm going to use the leftover piece from the previous one. I'm kind of not liking this fold, and as you can see, I'm following the exact same formula that I've already done on previous ones, because that's just what I like to do. If I try and decorate each one differently, then I can't mess make, and that's kind of what I'm doing over here. And especially if you're planning to make like little Christmas gifts and stuff, you wanna smash them out. You don't want to spend hours decorating each one, what goes with what and all that kind of stuff. Glue this on top of the burlap, and even though I'm sewing around, I like to glue it on first so it doesn't move around, and also so that the middle section is adhered over here, because I'm only sewing around the edges. I really like the middle section to also be adhered. Now I'm going to take this to my sewing machine that's been sewn around. Now I'm going to fray these edges, checking against the piece, and I can see it's covering the holes up here, which isn't actually too bad. This isn't too bad. I'm just going to do the wiggly thing over here. And the front piece is officially ready to go. Excellent. I'm going to set it aside, and now we shall reiterate the binding. Let's go. Easy peasy. This will be easy. First, decision mode. What color thread do I want? I can do this again. I might do this. and I have 4 holes. What did I say before? I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4 holes, and a little bit more just in case. Needle threaded. I'm gonna pop this aside, make everything nice and snug, maybe hold it in place. All right, so the other end of the needle or the thread gets taped down to the back. I'm reusing the same tape. Let's go. We're gonna go in from the back. Now we're at the front. We're gonna wrap, go back in through the same hole. Now we're going across, over the top. So we're always going top, across, top, across, top, across. But sometimes we do across on the back. Like for example, right now, we're gonna go back because my needle is in at the back, right? It's over here. So we're gonna go across at the back, over the top, across at the front, over the top. Now we are done. We don't have any more holes, so we're going to hug the side or wrap. What should we call it? Hug or wrap, doesn't matter. And now we're going back, and we're gonna do 2. Well, that's what I'm doing. You can just go back. I've worked it out now. I worked out how my daughter did it. So now you can just go back and back, you know, through the holes. But I like to have 2 strands up here. I think it just looks more profesh. That's what I think. So I'm going to wrap again, second time, and across, and wrap, and across. Is that annoying? And wrap, and across. Now, you can wrap, go back in, and then hug, or you can hug. You can do whatever you want. On the previous one, I wrapped and went across, and then hugged. But on this one, I might hug, go back in, and then wrap. And then we're done here. We don't have to go through any more holes. We just need to tie the knot. Oh, but I just pulled my needle out. I like to pop this through one of the threads. Preferably don't take your needle off. So I went through under one of the threads, and now we are going to tie a knot and a double knot and chop. Actually, I had perfect amount of thread. I like to keep these little bits as well. I don't throw them out because I can put them on tags. They can be little tag toppers. So everything gets used in this craft room. All right, what are we thinking? What are we thinking? Isn't that looking nice? Here's a little bit of a clearer view. Isn't that looking pretty? So did this second time around the binding make more sense if it didn't the first time? Listen, I'm only asking because for me, when I was working on the very first one, I actually was practicing on my template over here before I actually made it into a project, and it took me a few times. And then I had to, as I was actually working on a project, I had to remind myself, okay, what do I do next? Okay, so I go over the top, and you know, so that's why I was kind of like reiterating what I've already shown you how to do, just because I myself found it a little bit confusing when I was trying to work out how to do it. But now that I've done it a couple of times, it just makes perfect sense, and I wanted it to make sense to you too. Now you might be wondering, or you might not be, but you might be. The previous 2 that I made, and there's the second one. This one I used embroidery floss for the binding, so you can see how that looks. Use that orange to go in with this beautiful image. And then on this one, of course, I have twine. So you might be wondering about these little charms. I don't think I'm going to do it on this one because I still want to do the other 2, but you can see how I applied the charms. I just have a jump ring that I put underneath the 2 threads over here, right underneath the 2 threads, and then I attached these little hearts. I have a whole heap of these hearts. I found them, who knows where, I can't even remember. I think it was at the Resource Rescue Center. It doesn't matter. And it just looks very pretty, and it's not in the way because when I open this, I can't use this section anyway. Well, I could. They're just not in the way. And this is all flat. All right, let's move on. I decided to attach one little charm on this one here. This is just a vintage little piece of broken jewelry I have. So I need a jump ring and another little jump ring. All right. First, I'm going to attach the charm onto the little jump ring and close. Get my bigger jump ring, open, pop this on. And now this has to go under the two threads over here. Just pop it under like so and close. And here we have a little charm attached. And now I can call this one done. And finally, I want to make my last two little mini booklets. Perhaps I'll just do one on screen and I'll just do the other one off screen. Ink the edges on the very first page. I'm going to make myself a new template, so just using cardstock again, and I need the exact width of my project. Here we go, perfect. Draw myself a line, and now how many holes do I want? The big one has 6 holes, this one has 4 holes, and now perhaps I can do, I don't want to do 2 holes, maybe I can do 3 holes. I could even do 4 holes on the little one. I'm going to do 4 holes. Punch the holes. I didn't do a great job. Maybe this first one I'll do with 4 holes and the next one I'll do 3 holes. And now you know the drill. All the holes are punched. Now reinforce the holes. Now I'm going to think about what I want on the front. All right, I think I'm going to go with these little images that I have in this booklet, like little butterflies. Let's choose something. I think I'll go with this. Make it pretty. And for cohesion's sake, I am going to stick with the burlap thing. It gets a little bit more difficult working with small, tiny little things. All right, now I'm gonna glue this onto the burlap. It's annoying, this is very annoying. I'm very annoyed. It is what it is. I'm gonna take this to my sewing machine and just, repeating all the steps. I'm gonna go with purple, probably embroidery floss. And of course, all the purples that I have are completely different shade. And I'm gonna protest and I'm gonna use this teal color embroidery floss. I just wanna see how it's gonna look to have a little bit of contrast, something a bit different. And of course, following the same steps, come to the front, wrap through the hole, across, wrap through, across, wrap through, across, wrap through, and hug through, wrap through, across, through, wrap through, across, wrap, across, wrap through, hug, go under, remove, and tie a knot, and double knot, and done. Remove this, and glue this, and done. Honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about this teal embroidery floss that I used. It's okay. And last one, we're doing 3 holes this time around. Very nice. You can skip the hugging business completely and just have this thing going on. Up to you. Glue the front piece and done. We have 2 little ones, 3 medium ones, and 4 large ones. How pretty. I'm very happy with today's yield. All of this started yesterday afternoon and filmed today. 9 beautiful little pieces of, well, they're not pieces of, they are DIY quick little sketchbooks, or quick mediums, or quick large, they're sketchbooks and they're fun. You have to let me know what you think of this, and will you be attempting, or have you already started making your own? I love doing a themed thing. I think like Christmas themed would be beautiful, or fall, like I'm looking at this, fall themed, even though we are in spring here in Australia. You wouldn't know it though, because it's pretty cold. But anyway, I digress. I'm very happy with this. Please let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.